In a recent livestream, Demetrious Johnson shed some light on his fight and win pay during his career with the UFC, and the numbers are pretty ridiculous. The former UFC flyweight champion, now One Championship's flyweight title holder, revealed what he was getting paid while he was a title contender and champion in the UFC. As a fighter who is widely considered to be one of, if not the greatest fighter of all time, he revealed that in the context of his situation as a champion well into his career, he was getting paid peanuts. Speaking on his livestream, he said, "When I fought Dominic Cruz for the bantamweight title in 2011, I was on a contract. I think I was fighting for $14,000 to show and $14,000 to win. I lost to Dominic Cruz, so I made $14K. Then I was about to fight Eddie Wineland, and that didn't go through, so I fought Ian McCall in Australia. I was still on that same contract. And then I got a new contract when I fought Ian McCall the second time. I think I got bumped up to $20,000 and $20,000. So I beat Ian McCall, and then I fought Joseph Benavidez, and I was still on that 20 and 20. When I fought John Dodson, I made 23 and 23. And then when I fought John Moraga, it probably went to 26 and 26. And then when it was Joseph Benavidez in the rematch, I think it was like 30 and 30. Johnson revealed in the livestream that it took him 3 consecutive title defenses for him to get a champion contract with the UFC, which generally means more money and pay-per-view points. And whilst he got a bump in pay, he didn't get a share of pay-per-view points that usually comes along with it. He continued by saying, "I finally got a new contract as champion, and I think it was $125 to show and $50 to win. But I couldn't get pay-per-view points, and that's where a champion makes most of their bang for their buck, is the pay-per-view points," Johnson said. "Because if you get on a card with Conor McGregor and he does 2.1 million buys, then you just do the math. You're going to make a load of money. I never got the opportunity to do that." It's quite shocking that during the best fighter in the world's prime, he was earning less than what some Fight Pass prelim fighters get today. The timing of this news also doesn't look great for the UFC following the news that they couldn't square away a deal with UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. It has just been announced that ex-bantamweight champion Petr Yan is set to face Merab Dvalishvili in a 5-round main event fight headlining the UFC Fight Night card on March 11th. Multiple outlets and people on Twitter confirmed the news on Wednesday with verbal agreements in place. Although apparently there haven't been any contracts signed, the fight has been verbally agreed to. This represents a bit of a heat check for Petr Yan after his illegal knee saga and follow-up loss to Aljamain Sterling and a razor-thin split decision loss to Sean O'Malley. If he can turn up and put on a serious performance against a rising contender like Merab, he puts himself back into title contention. It's no easy feat though. He will have Merab the Machine Dvalishvili standing across the octagon from him, who is on an 8-fight win streak, taking down impressive names such as Jose Aldo, Marlon Moraes, Cody Stamann, and John Dodson. A win in this fight will bring Merab one step closer to a title shot, although he has stated numerous times that if Sterling is the champion, he won't fight him. With fighters pairing off early in the year in the bantamweight division, it will be interesting to see who else in the top 5 will be facing off in the first half of this year as champion Aljamain Sterling sits out with a torn bicep. Do you think the UFC should have an interim bantamweight title fight? Who do you think deserves the shot? Well, since his entry into free agency this week, it hasn't taken long for other organizations to attempt to jump on signing ex-UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, with the obvious organizations like PFL and Bellator expected to be putting together deals to attempt to sign the 36-year-old. BKFC President David Feldman has stated that he is hopeful that fans will see Ngannou grace the squared circle to do a little bare-knuckle boxing this year. In a statement, Feldman said, "We're very interested in signing Francis Ngannou and would very much like to have him compete in the stacked BKFC heavyweight division. We're tabling an offer for his services, and hopefully fans will see him in the BKFC squared circle in 2023. Whilst it might feel like a long shot seeing Ngannou stepping into the bare-knuckle ring, Francis's wish to step into the boxing ring against an opponent like Tyson Fury might have to wait, as the Gypsy King has already got a 3-fight plan. What do you think is the right next step for the Predator now that he is out of the UFC? Valentina Shevchenko has got a new opponent lined up for March 4, and the champ will be fighting Alexa Grasso on the same card as Jones and Garn. On Wednesday, there were reports that Shevchenko vs Grasso is now set for UFC 285, the upcoming pay-per-view scheduled for March 4 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The champ's last fight was a slightly more unconvincing split decision victory over Taylor Santos at UFC 275. The champ was looking to return to the octagon in December, but no opponents were available at the time. Since moving from strawweight to flyweight, Grasso has strung together 4 consecutive wins over tough opponents like Macy Barber and Joanne Wood. With records of 23-3 for Valentina and 15-3 for Grasso, the matchup looks to be seriously tight. As of recording, the betting lines have yet to be released, but it will be interesting to see what the line opens at given Valentina's lack of momentum compared to Grasso. UFC 285 is headlined by a heavyweight championship fight between John Jones and Cyril Gane. With the addition of Shevchenko vs Grasso, the event has 12 confirmed fights. It has been a busy week for the UFC firing squad, as 11 fighters have been dropped from the organization or not had their contracts renewed. Among the list of dropped fighters are Ultimate Fighter winner Michael Trizano, who is the only fighter in the list who is actually coming off a win. Women's flyweight Sijara Eubanks has also been let go following her TKO loss to Melissa Gatto. She was expected to return last weekend, but weight issues kept her off the card. Another surprise is bantamweight Julian Paiva, who has an impressive record of 21-5. He fought back in June and lost a decision to Sergey Morozov, before which he was KO'd by Sean O'Malley. For the full list of fighters that have been removed from the organization, head to UFC Roster Watch's Twitter page. They do a great job of updating the latest moves in the UFC. Well, that's it for another day in MMA. Tomorrow we'll try to post a breakdown of the 2 title fight matchups coming up this weekend between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo and Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill. Share any thoughts you have in the comments and be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content like this.